Based on your feedback, there is an interest in more nuts and bolts behind the philosophy of the Book of Yes and its impact. So, I wanted to offer some more insight on how to convert traditional employee handbooks from Book of No to a Book of Yes philosophy and encourage you to be the impact maker that the human resource profession needs. I have 4 knowledge nuggets to share. First, I'll offer the knowledge nugget, and then I'll offer one or more example of how that knowledge nugget was implemented in Manco's Book of Yes guideline. Knowledge nugget number 1. Words can build up or tear down. Choose a positive slant to approach. And by approach, I mean policies and practices. Traditional employee handbooks have a lot of negative words and phrases. Consider eliminating those negative words like termination, don't, policy, punitive, code, retaliation, probation, or discipline. And consider eliminating the negative phrases as well. For example, subject to disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Don't do this or this will happen. Under no circumstances should you, or reserve the right to require. Here's knowledge nugget number 1 of Manco's Book of Yes example of a positive approach to using words. All rigidity that traditional employee handbooks are written was eliminated in Manco's guideline. Manco's Book of Yes guideline offers a better tone and a shared destiny experience. Simply, it's not called an employee handbook, but it's titled Manco's Good Stuff to Know, positioning the document in a more positive light from the start. In its welcome, Manco's guideline encourages employee involvement, inviting the reader to make suggestions on business operations at any time, because we strive for constant improvement and encourage your thoughts. This approach and tone allows room for mistakes, which inevitably are going to be made because, after all, we are imperfect humans. Positive words and phrases in Manco's Book of Yes guideline include what to wear, progressive coaching. If you're interested in knowing more, just ask and keep us in the know. Here's knowledge nugget number 2. Simple is key. Ask yourself, what do people really need to know? Consider eliminating the pages upon pages and address only the most important things. It's not necessary to use big words, and while some legal jargon is maybe necessary, there's a way to position those items in a more kind way. Here's knowledge nugget example number 2 of Manco's guideline. The guideline has a section referred to as treating people with respect, more about our culture. Traditional employee handbooks in this section is typically referred to as harassment and bullying, and outlines steps for reporting and retaliation. First, think of those words. But Manco's guideline makes it simple and positions it in a more kind way, offering 2 choices. If you're offended by what someone says or does or their behavior, you can address it with the person as a first step by asking him or her to stop. And if you're not comfortable with that, share the situation with your manager. Depending upon which option you chose, if the request doesn't end the behavior, bring it to the attention of the manager or another member of management, because we promise to address it and act in good faith looking into it, because keeping our environment free from uncomfortable situations is a shared responsibility of everyone. Manco reserves the right to take any necessary legal action to protect its employees. This approach is kinder and more straightforward than a typical policy or practice. Here's knowledge nugget number 3. Level the playing field, promoting equality of everyone. Traditional employee handbooks are written with a lot of ego and superiority, inferring that the company or management is more important than its employees. Consider eliminating the us versus them or the company versus employees approach. Don't just treat everyone as equal, but believe it and show it through actions, because together is better. Here's knowledge nugget number 3 example of promoting equality of every person in Manco's Book of Yes approach. In Manco's guideline, in the glossary of terms and definitions, the we and us are defined as every person in the company, promoting equality. And as a second example, the Equal Employment Opportunity Statement states, we treat people equally. And finally, knowledge nugget number 4 of how to convert traditional employee handbooks from a book of no to a book of yes philosophy. Practice what you preach. Traditional employee handbooks may outline policies and practices, codes, mission, vision statements, key behaviors, but are they lived out or demonstrated in the daily operations of the business? If you don't intend to follow what you state in the handbook, why include it? Manco's Book of Yes knowledge nugget number 4 example of practicing what you preach. Part of the mission includes Manco's golden rule, always do the right thing. As was mentioned in my presentation, Manco has 4 behaviors that it strives to live out daily, which include excellence, respect, honesty, and leadership. These behaviors are lived out through the entire employment relationship, beginning from the sourcing and recruiting process, through the progressive coaching, and even daily in peer-to-peer interactions. All employees hold each other accountable for the behaviors, and they're quick to point it out with one another and call each other out, but in a respectful way, when someone isn't practicing a Manco behavior. But the opposite of that is true as well, in that they build one another up according to those behaviors. Another example in Manco's guideline of practicing what you preach includes a paid time off guideline for bereavement. This guideline for bereavement includes the loss of pets. This progressive feature is reinforced by management, many of whom are pet owners and who value the special relationships of their furry loved ones. Here's the impact and the results on Manco's culture of the Book of Yes philosophy. Manco's guideline has been in place for nearly 2 years, and every word in its 12 pages was intended to be positive and uplifting. In large part, negativity has left the building, and people that didn't fit found their way out, making room for those who wanted to be a part of an organization with a shared vision. Employees stepped up and stepped in, realizing that they could create their own destiny. The more experienced, tenured employees voluntarily began to mentor the newer, less experienced employees. And communication has opened up and improved. First, communication within departments improved, and then cross-communication between the departments began to increase. Email communication as well as verbal communication to owners, tenants, and to each other has improved. Everyone is encouraging and genuinely wants one another to be successful. Each week there are coffee talks centered around Manco's behaviors and the financial impact of the Golden Rule, doing the right thing. Coffee talks typically capture a recent on-the-job experience with owners and tenants, which positively reinforces employees who have demonstrated a Manco behavior. Employees will receive surprise gift cards for living out the culture of yes. And this has led to employees making right decisions not only on the job, but off the job too. The Book of Yes guideline provides a framework to build a culture of together is better. The people of Manco who live out the culture of yes guideline every day keep it alive, which allows Manco to thrive and prosper and become an employer of choice. I'll leave you with this question to consider. Is it time for our profession to rethink employee handbooks and our approach? Thanks, everyone. Go be the impact maker that our profession needs.